focusing on verse 19. Before we begin, I ask for your blessings, that I may speak something pleasing to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all the devotees. Let us chant the invocation prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam. We can start over. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarvasvatim vyasyam tato jayamudire nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Om jnana timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Canto 6, Chapter 1. We're covering verses 12 through 19. I'm going to summarize verses 12 through 14, and then we'll read aloud 15 to 19. But first, a little background here. So in the 5th canto, which we just completed a couple days ago, Shukadeva Goswami describes the hellish planets to Parikshit Maharaj. At the beginning of the 6th canto, Parikshit Maharaj asks Sukadeva Goswami how human beings may be saved from having to enter these hellish conditions. Sukadeva Goswami replies by suggesting atonement, but Parikshit Maharaj dismisses that answer. Sukadeva Goswami agrees, and then he explains to Parikshit Maharaj that in fact, a sinful person can only be saved from hell by performing pure devotional service. In verses 12 through 14, Shukadeva Goswami explains that one must follow the regulative principles, which we are all familiar with, and regularly chant the name of the Lord. So let us go to verse 15, and we can read 15 through 19. Whoever would like to start.
Only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays.
My dear King, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and the other methods of atonement I have previously described.
The path followed by pure devotees who are well behaved and fully endowed with the best qualifications is certainly the most auspicious path in this material world. It is free from fear and it is authorized by the Shastras.
Maria King, as a pot of containing liquor cannot be purified even if washed in the waters of many rivers, non-devotees cannot be purified the process of atonement even if they perform them very well.
Although not having fully realized Krishna, persons who have even once surrendered completely onto his lotus feet and who have become attracted to his name, form, qualities and pastimes are completely freed from all sinful reactions, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see Yamraj or his order carriers who are equipped with ropes to bind the sinful.
Thank you. So let's open up this verse 19. We'll go to the Sanskrit. This is our focus verse for today. Sakrin mana Krishna padaravindayor niveshitam tadgunaragiyariha nateyamam pasha pritascha tadbatan Svapnepi pashyanti hi chirna niskrita. Please chant. Sakrin mana Krishna padaravindayor niveshitam tagunaragiyeriha Nateyamam pasha pritashta tadvatan Swapne pipashyanti chirna nishkita Sakrin mana Krishna padaravindayor Niveshitam tadgunaragiyeriha Nateyamam pasha pritashta tadvatan Swapne pipashyanti chirna nishkita Sakrin mana Krishna padaravindayor Niveshitam tadgunaragiyeriha Nateyamam pasha pritashta tadbatan Swapne pipashyanti chirna nishkita. Okay, let's go to synonyms. We'll do these together. Sakrit, once only. Together. Mana, the mind. Krishna padaravindayo, unto the two lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Niveshitam, completely surrendered. Tat, of Krishna. Gunaragi, which is somewhat attached to the qualities, name, fame, and paraphernalia. Yea, by whom? Iha, in this world. Na, not. Te, such persons. Yamam, Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. Pasha Britaha, those who carry ropes to catch sinful persons. Cha, and. Tut, his. Batan, order carriers. Swapne api, even in dreams. Pashyanti, see. He, indeed. Chirna nishkrita, who have performed the right type of atonement. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Although not having fully realized Krishna, persons who have even once surrendered completely unto his lotus feet and who have become attracted to his name, form, qualities, and pastimes are completely freed of all sinful reactions, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see Yamaraj or his order carriers, who are equipped with ropes to bind the sinful. Purport. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. This same principle is described here. Sakrin mana Krishna padara vindayo. If by studying Bhagavad Gita, one decides to surrender to Krishna, he is immediately freed from all sinful reactions. It is also significant that Shukadeva Goswami, having several times repeated the words Vasudev Parayan and Narayan Parayan, finally says Krishna Padara Vindayo. Thus he indicates that Krishna is the origin of both Narayan and Vasudev. Even though Narayan and Vasudev are not different from Krishna, simply by surrendering to Krishna, one fully surrenders to all his expansions, such as Narayan, Vasudev, and Govinda. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Mata parataram nanyat, there is no truth superior to me. There are many names and forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is the supreme form. Krishnastu Bhagavan Svayam. Therefore, Krishna recommends to neophyte devotees that one should surrender unto him only, mam ekam. Because neophyte devotees cannot understand what the forms of Narayan, Vasudeva, and Govinda are, Krishna directly says mam ekam. Herein, this is also supported by the word Krishna padara vindayo. Narayan does not speak personally, but Krishna or Vasudeva does, as in Bhagavad Gita, for example. Therefore, to follow the direction of Bhagavad Gita means to surrender unto Krishna, and to surrender in this way is the highest perfection of Bhakti Yoga. Parikshit Maharaj had inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how one can be saved from falling into the various conditions of hellish life. In this verse, Shukadeva Goswami answers that a soul who has surrendered to Krishna certainly cannot go to Naraka, hellish existence. To say nothing of going there, even in his dreams, he does not see Yamaraj or his order carriers who are able to take one there. In other words, if one wants to save himself from falling into Naraka, hellish life, he should fully surrender to Krishna. The word sakrit is significant because it indicates that if one sincerely surrenders to Krishna once, he is saved, even if by chance he falls down by committing sinful activities. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.30, Apichet suduraracho bhajate mamananyabak sadureva samantavya samyagvyavasito hisa. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. If one never for a moment forgets Krishna, he is safe, even if by chance he falls down by committing sinful acts. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita 2.40, the Lord also says, Nehabi krama nashosti pratyavayo navidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Elsewhere in the Gita 16.40, the Lord says, Nahi kalyan krit kaschid durgatim tata gachati. One who performs auspicious activity is never overcome by evil. The highest kalyan, auspicious activity, is to surrender to Krishna. That is the only path by which to save oneself from falling down into hellish life. Srila Prabhupada Sarasvati has confirmed this as follows. The sinful actions of one who has surrendered unto Krishna are compared to a snake with its poison fangs removed. Protkahata damstrayate. Such a snake is no longer to be feared. Of course, one should not commit sinful activities on the strength of having surrendered to Krishna. However, if one who has surrendered to Krishna happens to do something sinful because of his former habits, such sinful actions no longer have a destructive effect. Therefore, one should adhere to the lotus feet of Krishna very tightly and serve him under the direction of the spiritual master. Thus, in all conditions, one will be akuto bai, free from fear. Haribol. Such a wonderful purport, as usual. It's so thorough. So in just a few verses before this one, Sukadeva Goswami says that different types of atonement, including karma kanda and jnana kanda, are just like pots of poison. They cannot really purify the living entity. But why is it that those processes of atonement are not advisable? Because they are processes of atonement, but why are they not advisable? Any thoughts? Yes. Ajit Prabhu. Over there. So the slate may be wiped clean, but why is it not good enough?
Well, it's said in the Bhagavatam, I forget if it's Shukadeva Goswami or Maharaj Parikshit, but atonement is kind of like just like cutting the weeds, but like the root is still there. It's only like devotional service that can uproot the weeds of sinful activities.
Yes, exactly. It's like you have weeds in your lawn and you just go over it with the lawnmower. Weeds are gone. Everything's fresh and clean. But did it solve the problem? No. So the acts of atonement aren't good enough because they don't cleanse the heart. They get rid of the reactions of what you have done, but that tendency still is within you. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a thief who commits many sinful activities. He commits many thefts. So a thief is sentenced to prison for 6 months. So he goes to prison. He's a good prisoner. He atones for his actions. He serves his prescribed sentence. He follows the rules of the society for atonement. When he is released, how likely is he to reoffend? Well, if the thief's consciousness has not changed, then he will continue to commit crimes. So he atoned, but he may not be purified. Similarly, we will continue to commit sinful acts until we purify our hearts and come to understand our true identities as spirit souls who are meant to serve Krishna. So then how do we purify our hearts? Yes, the prescribed method for this age, everybody's very awake this morning. The prescribed method for this age is chanting the holy name of the Lord. In the age of Kali, this is the recommended process for getting rid of our sinful tendencies and coming in touch with our true identities. In fact, it's the only way. So in this verse, the solution is now being described by Sukadeva Goswami, that one should be attracted to the Lord, should be attracted to his holy name, his form, his qualities, and that such surrendered souls don't even see the Yamadutas in their dreams. So the true method of atonement for sinful activities is taking to the process of devotional service. In other yoga paths, we hear how, such as Gyan or Ashtanga yoga, one moment of distraction, one moment of error, you fall down and you're right back where you started. You have to build everything from ground up again. No mystic cities for you in this lifetime. You got to start over again and reach that level of perfection in the next life. So, but devotional service is so powerful. Shukadeva Goswami is saying here, and Krishna says it himself, devotional service is so powerful that if one takes to it, even if one falls down, there is no loss. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. And in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as Prabhupada quoted in the purport, Krishna says there is no loss or diminution on this path. And Krishna, if one accidentally falls down due to habits of the past, Krishna continues to protect them, and the devotee is able to continue. Moreover, as I mentioned, Jnana and Ashtanga and other yoga paths require many, many lifetimes of continual austerities to reach the goal. But in Bhakti, we hear in today's verse, and it will be explained next week when we hear the story of Ajamil, in Bhakti, just one moment of sincere surrender is enough to erase all your sinful activities and to achieve Krishna Prem. In the Shastra, we find a few examples of people who surrendered at the very last moment of their lives. In the 8th canto, we find the story of Gajendra. Gajendra, in his previous life, he was a king named Indrayumna Maharaj. And as king, he offended a brahmana. who cursed him in his next life to be reborn as an elephant. When he was a human king, he worshipped Lord Vishnu. But in his elephant body, Gajendra was living as an elephant, just engaged in enjoying his senses in total ignorance. One day, Gajendra goes to a lake and he's splashing and he's playing with his family as he usually does, but a crocodile sneaks up on him and attacks him. He grabs his leg, and the Bhagavatam describes there's a very long battle. It's like hundreds of years of Gajendra trying to free himself and the crocodile not letting him go. And finally, Gajendra realizes he's actually not going to make it out of this. After fighting for so long, oh my God, I'm actually going to die. This really is it. And in that moment of complete desperation, the Paramatma within his heart empowers Gajendra to remember Lord Vishnu and remember all the prayers he had offered to Vishnu in his previous life. So Gajendra expresses these prayers. It's about half a chapter in the 8th canto. He prays these prayers to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha hears these prayers, these sincere prayers, and he immediately leaps onto Garuda and he flies to Gajendra. The Bhagavatam states, Gajendra had been forcefully captured by the crocodile in the water and was feeling acute pain. But when Gajendra saw that Narayan, wielding his disc, was coming in the sky on the back of Garuda, he immediately took a lotus flower in his trunk, and with great difficulty due to his painful condition, he offered the following words, O my Lord Narayan, Master of the universe, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. And what did Vishnu do? That very simple but very sincere prayer, uttered in the utmost pain, was enough for Lord Vishnu. And he cut off it's just Bhagavatam describes, he pulls both of them out of the water, he chops off the crocodile's head, and Gajendra goes back to Vaikuntha. So Gajendra lived a very long elephant life of ignorance, but in the end, that one moment of surrender was enough. It was enough for him, and it was enough for the Lord. So similarly, we'll soon hear how Ajamil lived a very sinful life, but at the last moment, he calls out the name of the Lord, Narayan, with such conviction that this Narayan he's calling will save him, even though the Narayan he's referring to is his son. But he's speaking the name with such conviction that Narayan is the one who can save me as I'm about to die, that's enough to scare the Yamadutas away, and for Ajamil to be given another chance at living a life of devotional service. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains there's no need of strenuous effort, of various rituals and yagyas to free oneself from sinful reactions. With faith and love, he says, if you just surrender unto me, I will free you. It's very simple according to Krishna. Somehow it's very complicated for us. But Krishna doesn't care what kind of family you grew up in, what things you have done in the past. He cares about the present. In the Ramayana, Vibhishan, Ravana's brother, grew up in a demoniac family. He's Ravana's brother. But he recognizes that Ravana has done something really, really wrong here by abducting Sita. And so he surrenders to Ram, despite being part of a demoniac family. When Vibhishan leaves Lanka and comes to seek refuge with Ram, some of Ram's allies, particularly Sugriva, they're very suspicious of Vibhishan. They say, he's got to be a spy. He's from a bad family. He's not sincere in his surrender. However, Lord Ram responds by saying, it is my vow that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on. Krishna's mercy is unlimited. In the 10th canto, Shukadeva Goswami states, if even only once, or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation? Or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed? In addition, in the Madhya Lila, Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatan Goswami, one is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya if he seriously and sincerely says, my dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service. Surrendering to the spiritual master is non-different than surrendering to Krishna. And we hear many instances in our lineage of those who surrendered, and even surrendered just at one instance. We hear of disciples of Prabhupada who met him one time and fully surrendered. I think of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. He was a college student from an affluent family, and he had been searching for a guru. He writes in one of his books. He'd been looking for a while, and he had explored impersonalism, he explored Buddhism, he drove across the country, going to different lectures, trying to find a guru. And in 1969, Giriraj Swami Maharaj had one conversation with Srila Prabhupada, and he immediately surrendered unto him and accepted him as his spiritual master. I think I'm going to tell the story. Do you want to hear the story? Do you know the story? So Giriraj Swami, he attended a lecture by Prabhupada, and after the class, he asked Prabhupada, there are so many swamis and yogis, and each recommends a different process of self-realization, and each says that his is the best. So how do I know what is actually best? And Srila Prabhupada replied, well, that depends. What is your goal? Do you want to serve God, or do you want to become God? God is always God. Krishna is God when he is sitting on the lap of Mother Yashoda. Krishna is God when he kills demons. He didn't have to meditate to become God. While he was playing, he was God. When he was fighting on the battle of Kurukshetra, he was God. So you are trying to become God. That means that you are not God, is it not? So how did you become not God? God is so great that he never becomes not God. If you're seeking God, if you want to serve God, he will give you all facility. But if you're trying to become God, then you are only cheating yourself. And why should God try to help the competition? And after that, Giriraj Swami Maharaj, he did full Dandavat, right? He did full Dandavat Pranam. And right from that moment onward, he thought, this is my spiritual master, this is who I've been looking for. And from that conversation, that one conversation in 1969 up to today, 55 years later, Giriraj Swami has dedicated every hour of his life to serving Srila Prabhupada. So His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. And we, by hearing the example of disciples and how they surrender body, mind, and soul, that inspires us in our devotional service to really practice our sadhana properly so we can get to that point where our desire is the same as gurus. Has everyone here read Dancing White Elephants and I'll Build You a Temple? Mother Kunti, Mother Sacharya. Definitely you should. I know there's so many sacred literatures we want to read, but highly recommend them. It deepens your relationship with Srila Prabhupada, understanding his mission, and truly, it's our history, it's our heritage, to understand what it means to be a disciple, to serve in challenging situations, to fulfill instructions that you may not be excited about. You hear in those books how Prabhupada's disciples and preaching in India, just trying to establish ISKCON, sleeping in tents in Mumbai, sleeping in, at one point, a makeshift temple that had a tin roof, no electricity, so not only no air conditioning, but no fans, no running water. You try to be a pujari with no running water, sleeping on the floor with rats, serving Prabhupada's mission while battling malaria, dengue fever, jaundice, experiencing frequent setbacks of financial pressures, legal hurdles, very little food to eat, while preaching and maintaining sadhana. So when I look at Giriraj Swami, I see Hanuman. To me, that is surrender. So life in bhakti, in Krishna consciousness, it requires small acts of surrender over and over every day. We do hear of these devotees who have the one big act of surrender at the end of their lives, but to live in bhakti, it's continual surrender. And sometimes, although I hear the word surrender a lot, sometimes it loses its meaning for me, and I have to come back and think, what does surrender actually mean? Does it mean worship? What does it mean? Last year, I took an Uber, and I was talking to my driver. Somehow she opened up to me. She was Christian, and she said, ever since I gave my life to Christ 5 years ago, my life has completely turned around. And I really like that phrase, I gave my life to Christ. And I think what we mean in Krishna consciousness when we say surrender is we mean give our lives to Krishna. So our goal is to give our lives to Krishna every single day through various small acts. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborated on the word sharanam, surrender, in his collection of songs called Sharanagati. He gives a conceptual orientation of what pure surrender looks like and how we can practice to achieve that. So he describes the 6 practices of those serious about dedicating their lives to Krishna, those serious about giving their lives to Krishna. These are the 6. 1, accepting things favorable to devotional service. 2, rejecting things unfavorable to devotional service. 3, accepting that Krishna is our only maintainer. 4, accepting that Krishna is our only protector. 5, developing a deep sense of humility. 6, fully giving ourselves for the purpose of Guru and Krishna. Let's take a look at these. How do we practice the first 2 points, which are accepting things favorable to devotional service and rejecting things unfavorable to devotional service? Anyone like to share some thoughts?
If you can avoid listening to materialistic, mundane sounds, and instead fill your ears with lectures, Srila Prabhupada, or so many nice lectures out there of his disciples.
Very nice, yeah. Controlling what you're hearing, what you're engaging with on the media. The radical principles are a major one, where we're getting rid of sinful activities that we know are negative for devotional service. We're taking that vow to chant 16 rounds. Controlling what you hear. Association, I think, too. Accepting what's favorable, rejecting what's unfavorable. Choosing jobs that allow us to be closer to the temple or allow us to time for devotional service. Just keeping that in mind when we make major life decisions. Is this favorable for devotional service, or this is going to take me farther away from devotional service? So number 3 is accepting that Krishna is our only maintainer. Anyone have any thoughts on that? How to practice that? I have some thoughts, so yeah. Well, one way for me to develop faith that Krishna is our maintainer is by hearing stories about how he maintains his devotees. From other devotees and also from past times in the Shastra. I want to give an example. When Narada Muni approached the hunter Mrigari, Narada asked him to give up his sinful habit, killing animals. He enlightened the hunter about karma. He told him, how in his next life, you're going to have to suffer a fate similar to that of these poor creatures. And after some time, the hunter did develop faith in what Narada Muni was saying, but he hesitated. Narada Muni asked him to break his vow, but Mrigari thought, how though? If I break this vow, how are me and my family going to survive? This is all I've ever done. So I hunt animals, I sell them, and I eat them. But Narada assured him that if he took to the path of devotional service, Krishna would provide for all his needs. So the hunter, he complied with Narada's request. He broke his bow. He started chanting. You know what happened? Many Mrigari's neighbors became aware of his transformation, And they began to honor him as a saintly person. So every day, they started bringing him food for he and his family. In fact, the quantity of food he received far exceeded his needs. And he asked them to please stop bringing so much food. Number 4 is Krishna's our only protector. And how do we practice that? Think again, hearing from Shastra, hearing from other devotees. Certainly on the large scale, there are so many, we have access to so much literature now of Srila Prabhupada's disciples who've published, their pastimes in devotional service. And, if I think about the journey home by His Holiness Radhanath Swami, so many situations he found himself in where it was truly life or death. But by praying and using the intelligence Krishna gave him, miraculous people would show up to help him. So hearing these things from senior devotees can help us. Also, as we move through life, we start to face more and more challenges. And we're also, I would like to say, we're so blessed here in our Kalachandji community that we have a very large part of our population here that have been serving in ISKCON for 40, 50 years, who really know what it is to go through life challenges and be supported by Krishna. So to take advantage of that association, Mother Sucharya, Chakri Prabhu, all of Tamal Krishna Goswami's disciples are still here after establishing this temple. And they have such a true, deep understanding of, through it all, Krishna is our only protector. Number 5, developing a deep sense of humility. It's a hard one. It's very obvious that I don't have that. But from what we hear from the Acharyas to establish a deep sense of humility, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the 3rd verse of Shikshastakam, Tanadapi Sunichina, is our, what did he say? The Siddha Pranali mantra of our tradition. That if you practice truly, you meditate on that one verse and you try to understand it, that will reveal your true identity, your true relationship with Krishna, your true relationship with everyone. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the beginning of humility is the absence of the enjoying mentality. Our nature is pleasure-seeking. But when we look for enjoyment in matter, in things that don't endure, we become takers and exploiters. And when we think everything belongs to us and how I can get more of this and leave less for them, it's impossible to be humble. So to reinstate our spiritual consciousness, we need to practice giving and serving. Lastly, number 6, fully giving ourselves for the purpose of Guru and Krishna. Probably Mother Sucharya and Mother Kunti can speak on that, certainly not me. Sankirtan. Yes, give the mic, please.
You have books, Mishra Bhagavan can relate. You have to depend on Gurudev's and Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Exclusively, you have to pray each time, and I'm just your puppet, please let me do this for you. Now, Sankirtan is very purifying like that.
That's a very good point. Thank you. Mother Sucharya, do you have any thoughts on that, how we can practice fully giving ourselves for the purpose of Guru and Krishna? Okay, well, why don't you say that in the microphone, please? We're so blessed to have you here.
Well, exactly what Kunti Devi said. Especially on Sankirtan. I remember one of my first memories of meeting the devotees, and they asked me to join the Sankirtan party. I could feel the presence of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And every time I ever went out with books or related Sankirtan, Lord Chaitanya was right there with my soul. And also, when you reach out to a person, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, you reach out to their soul. You bypass the mind, the intelligence, the ego. You go right for the soul, and that soul responds. But I have a burning question, if I could ask it.
Sure.
Okay. So sometimes, as you read today, that we think of Krishna, that someone will think of Krishna even by force. So we read that Krishna cannot be forced to do anything. So what's an example?
An example of someone being forced to think of Krishna?
Yes. Like how, because when you think of Krishna, you know, Krishna's independent, abhigya swarat, so he doesn't have to come, but in this reading, is that if you're forced to think of Krishna.
Well, my own speculation is when I think of that word force, because I don't think I've ever been fortunate to have someone force me to think of Krishna. I wish all of you would force me all day long. You want to think of him right now. But I think in that verse, maybe forcing oneself, you know, when you're chanting japa, and then it's not talking for myself, maybe not spontaneous, and making my to-do list, and then I go, oh my God, just think of Krishna, come on. Think of, like, look at this picture of Krishna, or go look at the deities of Krishna, and in that way forcing the mind to come back to Krishna. So even, what was that verse? Even if by force one remembers Krishna, what does it say? That we get benefited from that. Let me find that verse. It's from the 10th canto. If even only once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna. Yeah. That's what I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think that's enough from me. So we can open it up to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Famous verse from Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharmam prityaja mamekam saranam braja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayasami ma sucha. And Srila Prabhupada describes what surrender is in the purport.
Please read it.
It's really sweet. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Purport: the Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion: knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. And then it goes on. There's different sinful reactions that one is protected from. In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. And then he goes on. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, 11.676. Anukula yasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshiyatiti vishvasho goptritve varanam tata atmanikshepta karpanye sadvida saranagati. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There's no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord and full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. And then it goes on. I mean, it's a really nice, if anybody wants to share, you could start from there, different processes of religion. Oh, does anybody have a question?
Oh, Tammy. Thank you so much, Mother Kunti. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you
Hare
for a very
Krishna.
good class. In this purport for the verse 19, it says, of course one should not commit sinful activities on the strength of having surrendered to Krishna. However, even if one who has surrendered to Krishna happens to do something sinful because of his former habits, such sinful actions no longer have a destructive effect. So I came here to this community to surrender, and it's been so helpful to keep focused. But I'm about to take a trip and go back into the karmi world for a while. And so I want to know if you have some words of wisdom to help me not think in terms of this verse why I'm there. There'll be birthday cake with egg in it. There'll be things going on. It'll be hard to remember to chant my rounds. I won't have any association. How can you help me not think like this why I'm there?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Krishna, if I slip, Krishna will save me,
Well, in the that verse 9.30 is often an often misunderstood verse in Bhagavad Gita, and in the purport, Prabhupada makes it clear that it's an accidental, mistake. It's not a deliberate, well, I mean, I've done enough, like one time, like won't hurt. It's very much about an accident because we do have our samskaras and our past conditionings. And sometimes we make mistakes. And of course, if Krishna is an all-merciful God, he's not going to hold it against us when we make a mistake. It's a mistake. But when we're deliberating and weighing options, that's different. Well, definitely, I'm sure you have a spiritual mentor who can talk to you more in depth about what your day-to-day is going to look like. But how long are you gone for?
10 days.
10 days. Okay. Well, finding time to be with yourself in your spiritual practice is important, whether it's getting up earlier, if you're sharing a house with someone, getting up earlier before other people and chanting a few rounds before they wake up, and finding time during the day to hear. We do have all these live streams and stuff. It's very much about carving out your own space within sharing a space with someone else. And when it comes to eating, most people don't want to force us to eat things that we don't want, I have found.
They are very good about that.
Yeah, so just letting people know and then finding options to eat, before you go. Like if I do have to travel for work sometimes, and I try to pack some prasadam with me. If that's not possible, I Google things around where I'm going to be staying that have vegetarian options, so that I don't end up in a situation where I'm starving and it's 8 p.m. and I don't know this place or how I'm going to get food. So it just takes some thought. And it's all possible.
Thank you. I appreciate
Hare
that.
Krishna. No.
Prabhupada nectar.
Yeah, it's hard to stop.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. I'm glad that was brought up again. I also was remembering that part of the purport that really stuck out to me, and I like your response was that this has to do with accidental things, but I was also thinking that, and you said an accident means it's not something that we deliberated on and then decided to, but I do think that Maya is so strong sometimes that even after deliberation and deciding to do the wrong thing, that could be an accident, because Maya is just so overwhelmingly powerful sometimes. I think it really comes down to sincere, our deepest, sincerest intention that, defines whether that was an accident or not. Are we going to do it again? Do we actually feel bad about it? Like, because we're not supposed to chant or take the holy name commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. But if we commit some sinful activities, we better chant. We better take shelter of the holy name, not because I think it's gonna eliminate my sinful activity, the result of my sinful activity, but because I know I need to. I'm so impure, and so I was thinking like that word accident can be a little, like what defines an accident?
Yeah. Thank you.
In response to Mother Tammy's question, I just wanted to share my experience of when I had to go for Christmas with my family, and we were in we took over like a huge like hotel in the middle of nowhere, my whole family, for like many days, and it was very challenging. But what helped for me is like tuning in online to it, like anything and everything. I was still getting up at 4 a.m. and I would just put the laptop, kind of like, eye vision, and you have Mangalarti, and you can sing Samsardavana. You can do the whole thing. And then I would chant my rounds. And the biggest thing I had a problem with was the food. I wasn't prepared enough. You have to be prepared. I just trusted them. I was like, I'm vegetarian, but literally what they had was just like veggies and like
carrots
and like it was rough. So we have to be prepared with the food. We have to get our own food, and we have to cook for ourselves. Other than that, it was okay. I kept to myself. I read a lot of Bhagavatam. Actually, I got a lot of reading done because I was keeping to myself. And it takes courage, and it takes confidence, and it takes like not caring about what they think.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what they think. It's important that, like, I was just reading from S.B. Keshav Maharaj last night. He was talking about, what was he talking about? Like influence, like should you care what people think? Should you not care? And it's a balance. You should care about what certain people think. Like you should use your intelligence to pick, okay, I care what these people think because they are living the life that I want to live. So, but everybody else that I'm not inspired by, it doesn't matter what they think.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my thoughts. Hare Krishna. Hope that helps.
Anyone else? Primrita?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, something else that helped me in a similar situation was, I'll just share, like, when I first started practicing and, like, going around my family, I was pretty, like, fanatic and a little, like, hard-hearted and closed-hearted, and they felt that. They still love me, but they felt that. But recently, I've just been, like, my mood when I go see my family is, like, I serve them. Even if it means washing dishes that had meat on it, even if it means, whatever that looks like, I serve them because then they see how much this is affecting me. And then another thing that really, really helped me at my cousin's wedding, I really noticed how much this like saved my life, was the person who asks the questions controls the conversation. So if you are having conversations with, the people around you, but you're the one asking them how, what's your connection with God? Like, do you pray? How do you pray? Like, what are your prayers? Then you can just make the conversation as Krishna conscious as you want it to be. That really was amazing to me when I went to visit my family. It was like all of my conversations were about God because I was like and they loved it. They were so grateful also.
Mm. Oh.
Hare Krishna. So there's also the other spectrum of when you're traveling and you're with family. There's that spectrum that those who love you will do anything to make sure you have what you need.
Yes.
I had one experience where my mom, we were on Sankirtan, and we were in her area in Toronto. So I called her. I said, Mom, I said, we're coming to visit. Is that okay? She goes, yes, yes. I said, Mom, the only thing is that today it's going to be Ekadasi. So I can't eat beans or rice or grains or anything that's, got grains in it. Oh, she says, no problem. So we came over to her house. She had the whole spread. Everything, every vegetable you could think about, a cream cheese dip, celery, this, blah, blah, and she made like mashed potatoes you could like dream about.
Uh-huh.
So there's also that people who love you, just alert them that, hey, I have this particular diet. It's really important to me, and they will respond to you with love.
Yes, absolutely. Hare Krishna. I've experienced that as well. Any other parting thoughts? You're good?
Just wanted to echo and just add on a little bit what Prima was saying. That's my secret now when I see my family, because they'll talk, unless I can direct the conversation. But sometimes it's kind of so many of them, but my secret, what I do is I just try to find something I can do to serve. Like I'll just be like sweeping or whatever, just so I'm not just sitting there awkward. Like at least I'm doing some service, and then they appreciate it, and then they're more likely to ask about you and like what your life is, because they like you. So they're like, what's going on? So that's my secret. I just always try to find something to do.
Yeah, I've always been fortunate in that my friends and my family from way back when, they don't really care that I worship a God that's blue, that plays the flute. Like they don't care what I'm doing with the things like the bead bag. They just, what they always noticed is like that I am happy and that I am respectful and that I'm living a normal life and I have a job. And so they really, really, truly could care less. So to just engage with people in a way that makes you a good representative of a devotee is devotional service. And yeah, so there you go. Yeah. It's just this creating the sadhana. It's really just looking. You really have to plan, because no perfect day is going to fall out of the sky, is what I tell people about other things. But anyway, really looking at your calendar, like, okay, I have this plan. I'm going out on this excursion. So what time do I have to get up so I can chant a few rounds? That way the habit still remains. Anyway, wonderful thoughts from everyone. Thank you all. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.